Have you balanced the deposit sheet inside of the PMS with the bank statement?
I think that's the superpower of an ops, is to figure out what that one barrier is. And Jared, you and I can say we've been in plenty of relationships where we feel like the finance side's in good shape, uh, but ops is not where it needs to be. And what we tend to see there, Cassie, is a lot of the same conversations over and over because nothing's ever getting done. So I'll flip that conversation to you and say, have you ever been a part of a group or worked with a group that had great operations, including yourself, but the finance and the data wasn't there? And what does that look like, when you're in that kind of situation? Good ops, no finance, or bad finance?
Yeah, I mean, I just had this happen recently, where they had someone in finance that didn't have any history in dental. They were just operating out of QuickBooks, and all they were doing was just balancing the bank statement with QuickBooks. That was it. Balance the bank against
That's
QuickBooks.
step one. That's step
That-
one.
but that was it. Yeah, that's step
Right.
one. And I was going, okay, but like, have you ever run any reports inside of the PMS? Because a few things that you need to know, first of all, are what's actually happening with the money on a day-to-day basis and the actual deposits. Have you balanced the deposit sheet inside of the PMS with the bank statement? And they're like, well, no, I didn't know I need to do that. Well, okay, but that's where the embezzlement happens, is we're only balancing what's happening in the bank and we're not looking at the day sheet in the actual PMS. And again, that's still part of just step one. Talking about the full P&L and the expenditures and making sure that there's itemization in the correct way, and that if something's purchased, everybody on board knows what the ROI and the use of that large purchase is. And so, that was a great example for me just recently, and it was, for 7 clinics with someone who had generally no idea of the facets of the practice, or how a practice runs, that I left going, the disconnect is so deep. They're never going to move the needle and get to where they want to be, with growth potential, until they have someone who's knowledgeable on the finance side to push and to challenge them in these areas.
So on ops and finance, as these groups scale, right, they get bigger, and maybe this goes back to the foundation and laying the steel that you referenced, but like, how do you recommend these groups build out like the processes and procedures, like document specific things that need to be in place for both of these to play well together?